Hello everybody and welcome to the first annual Nintendo Switch Game of the Year Awards. I had such a great time last year with the Sega Saturn one that I did. I decided to do two this year. One for the Saturn and one for the modern era on the Switch. So the first one I'm going to do is I'm going to pop straight into the Switch, and then the second one, which will be tomorrow, is going to be for the Saturn. Anyway, last year I had two parts. I had 10 awards in total, and each video had 5 awards. So this year I've kind of streamlined it. There are going to be 7 awards this year. So I've kind of omitted like the negative ones and the superfluous ones, and I'm going to fit the award ceremony into one video. So all 7 are going to be in this video for the Switch, and then tomorrow is going to be 7 for the Saturn. Some of you may be new here, or you didn't see it last year because it was only related to the Saturn. So I'll give you a quick breakdown as to how it works. The games under consideration aren't necessarily released this year, but consist of games that I played this year on the Switch for the first time. As such, there are games that maybe got released last year or even earlier, and I haven't got around to playing them until now. As for ports, well, you know, playing on the Switch has proven to be a different experience for many of these ports with the portability and like the deluxe versions and stuff. So I have allowed Switch ports on this list as long as the Switch version is the one I've played for the first time. So there are games that I have played before that have recently been ported to the Switch, but as long as my first time on the Switch has been this year, I've put them up for consideration. Now, because I have played some of these games before, I've tried to lean towards non-ports or games that I haven't played before, except for categories where the winner is like too strong of a choice to ignore. Anyway, enough dilly-dallying, let's get the ball rolling. Our first category is most surprising. This category covers a wide area since games can be surprising due to me disliking the genre. Like, I famously hate JRPGs and shmups, so games like Cat Quest, West of Loathing and Soul Divide end up being quite surprising to me this year. But because they had a lot of charm and were actually quite fun, they turned out to be quite unexpected and surprising affairs. There were other surprises too as well, like Luigi's Mansion 3 for example. I kind of just expected to be okay. Like, the first game was fun, but sort of underwhelming for me. I found it outstayed its welcome towards the end, and I didn't really expect to enjoy Luigi's Mansion 3 as much as I did. That one definitely stayed fresh throughout the entire experience. Even though there was some parts which weren't as good as others, on the whole it was a pretty damn good affair. There were other surprises as well, like Toe Jam and Earl back in the groove. Everyone expected that to be shit because it got delayed so much, and you know, it's one of those games where it's like, hey, remember this game? Well, we're making a new one. And people just expect it to be a stinker because there was such a long period of time with delays and no updates and everything. But it actually ended up being like really addictive and really fucking good. So that was definitely a surprise. The game that surprised me the most, however, was something I originally wrote off as being like a Nintendo gimmick. We had Labo recently, or Labo or whatever, which ended up just being like a stupid flop. It was just cardboard crap. And Ring Fit Adventure seemed like it was going to be another trash game that was attached to a shitty peripheral. They released the original trailer out of nowhere and it showed a bunch of idiots pissing around with a plastic ring. So it kind of looked like a Wii Fit knockoff type thing, but kind of worse and kind of gimmickier. And, you know, when Nintendo dropped details about the game and said it was basically an on-rails RPG, well, that made me think, nope. Then it came out. People were praising it, like a lot. Not just being fun, but like praising how much it gives you an exercise routine that works. So I became curious. there were videos with personal trainers as well, praising it as, good first step into a fitness regime and offering quite a lot for people who want to, just casually stay fit. And it sounded good. Like this year I've had quite a few health issues, many of which have been connected to general muscle strength being comparatively weak as I've gotten older. And what better way to get into an exercise routine than video games? I mean, things like sport or the gym, nah. But a video game? Yeah. I mean, I don't like running, but I'll fucking sprint if you're gonna give me more XP for it. I'll work for those points. And I did. This game got me running, got me doing yoga, and God knows what other types of exercises. All with a warm-up and cool-down program to make it seem like, a proper exercise thing. And, whilst this is done generally in-game and in the story, you can set your own custom workouts as well. So if you want to exclude some things or you just don't want to do the main story, which is a pretty sizable story as well, then you can do that too. This was quite a surprise for me, and it's actually helping improve my general fitness. I can't recommend it enough to gamers that lack the motivation to get fit. As such, I had to give this one an award. The next category is Best Music. Now, rather than talk about why the Hotline Miami collection has the best music, instead I'll just play a sample from various tracks to show you why it wins this award. When talking about best visuals, there are a lot of things we can talk about. Artistic styles within games can range from the cartoonish to the realistic. In the former category, there's games like South Park, Stick of Truth, and Link's Awakening, which, are surely standout titles. Like the South Park games look like you're playing an actual episode of the cartoon. Link's Awakening has a beautiful toy-like art style too. Then there's games like Luigi's Mansion 3 as well, which are more cartoonish but have a lot more details and textures that, make it a real treat for the eyes. For me though, this year I'm going to opt for the latter category of realism, particularly because the reason for them looking so good is because they've been excellent port jobs. The Sinking City is a current gen game that was ported to the Switch this year, and it has a vast open city and it looks really good. Similarly, there are the Resident Evil games. Resident Evil 0 looks really good, but I'm actually going to hand the award to Resident Evil Remastered HD, the first one. So Capcom have ported a lot of Resident Evil games this year, and to date I've played the original 0 and 4 on the Switch. 0, as I mentioned before, is a beautiful game. And, obviously as well, 1 is a beautiful looking port that outshined the original versions. The fourth one is more of a straight port, so is less impressive. But the original game, I would say it outdoes 0 just because it has more interesting environments and the performance is generally better too. The static backgrounds of the original games allow for Capcom to take care of things with lighting sources and the character models, and it really helps to make the game really atmospheric. The original remake on the GameCube stands out as one of the most beautiful games on the console, and honestly the HD remaster of that remake is probably going to end up being one of the most beautiful games on the Switch too. Famously, it was said that a story in a video game is like a story in a porn movie. It's expected to be there, but it's not really that important. Anyway, John Romero. Even though that still kinda holds true today, with gameplay being the most important part of any video game, arguably, a good story can really help drive your interest forward. The Resident Evil games, for example, have great stories that tie into the core gameplay and help keep you invested. The dialogue may be laughably bad, but the stories are genuinely good. On the flip side, you've got something like West of Loathing, which has a very basic story with very little there. However, the dialogue in that story is so funny and, really clever that it helps keep you invested in that world. One game that had both story and excellent dialogue, though, is The Sinking City. It's set in the fictional city of Oakmont, and you follow Charles Reed. He's looking into the cause of his terrible visions, and believes that the answers lie in Oakmont. The main story follows an investigation surrounding a diving expedition, and there's some kind of city beneath the waters. But there are also many side quests available too, that help other citizens of the town. So you're solving cases, involves a mixture of talking to people, you make deductions, you investigate and look up details from public sources, such as like the library or the police station or the hospital or whatever. And then there's the odd bit of combat too. And all these kind of elements, they all fit together quite well and make you feel like a real detective. It also helps that this Lovecraftian horror plot that they all revolve around is pretty in-depth and compelling too. There's so many different cases and side cases and stuff. You expect a lot of them to be duds, but honestly most of them are fantastic. There's one memorable one that starts out quite mundane. You're basically just gathering books for a student, but it actually turns out to be one of the best parts of the game. I don't really want to talk about why the story's so good in The Sinking City, because I don't want to spoil any of it, but a mixture of the world, the gameplay, the stories, the dialogue, it makes for one hell of a compelling experience. Just talking about it makes me wish there was a sequel, or even more DLC, or just something. I really want to get more into this world because I got so invested. And that's why I had to hand the honour of Best Story to The Sinking City. I've played a lot of games in 2019 on the Switch, and so many of the games I've played for a long time are due to the game's length. So for example, like Sinking City is quite a long detective game, and games like Smash Brothers as well. The main story is quite sizable, so just getting through the game takes quite a fair number of hours. But then there's other games as well that have kept me for a bit longer, such as, Hyrule Warriors, for example, has got like a fun gameplay loop that even when you beat the main story, you want to get, delving into the adventure and start unlocking stuff. There's things like Pokemon Sword and Shield as well that have kept me going for a while. Partly due to the length, partly because I've beaten the game twice, first on a Nuzlocke and second normally. But then also there's the whole Pokemon gameplay loop of collecting them all, then also building teams and stuff like that you kind of invest more time into it anyway. However, nothing compares to Super Mario Maker 2 this year. The main story of the game features many kind of fun and amazing levels that, keeps you going for quite a long period of time. Longer than a lot of 2D Mario games, to be honest. To say that, the single player just essentially acts like a tutorial as to here's all the different gameplay mechanics and here's how you can use them in interesting ways. But the reason I've played the game for nearly 500 hours now is down to the Maker mode. Creating your own levels is super easy, super fun and super addictive. You're always kind of finding new ways to do things or finding new things to experiment with. And Nintendo were updating the game too. There's been a recent update with Link and some new extras, and hopefully they keep on updating it as well to keep people invested. Now, even though the Maker mode is what hooked me, there are other people that have spent hundreds or thousands of hours just by playing other people's fantastic creations. There is a lot of garbage, true, as you would expect from any kind of maker game. But then there are so many like great levels out there from like these fantastic makers that are jaw-dropping. Now, personally, I don't really like 2D Mario, and yeah, I didn't really expect to like this game, so this game was actually kind of a surprise as well. But not only is the single player mode like the best 2D Mario game that I've ever played, but like the whole package is just an absolute delight. This game is just a must-buy for any Switch owner. Whether you're just playing it for the campaign, whether you want to get involved with other people's levels, whether you want to make your own, there's just so much on offer that regardless of how you want to play it, you're definitely going to get your money's worth. Not only is Mario Maker 2 my most played game of 2019, it's probably one of my most played games on Switch and probably one of my most played games of all time so far, and I'm not even done with it. Hidden gems are always fun to highlight. Identifying ones though as the highlight for the year though is never easy. I've played many big titles this year, but I've also played a lot of small games too. There are many obtuse games that pass people by either due to the genre or the general obscurity. Agatha Knife, for example, has a really interesting and dark storyline and it's a great adventure game. Much like the old, Grim Fandango, Monkey Island games, those kind of adventure titles. And, no one's really played it, but it's so good. Similar there, there's the procedurally generated Immortal Redneck. And I was actually hesitant to play that at first because of being procedurally generated. But that actually turned out to be fantastic too. Anyway, the game that I'm going to give the hidden gem of 2019 to is The Almighty, The Last Dreamer. It's great fun to play, yet it's a game that you'd be kinda hard pressed to find anyone who's even heard of the game. If I was to sum it up in a sentence, it's basically Catherine, but without the tits. It's an action puzzle title, and it's separated across a range of levels. You control the protagonist as he tries to reach the tree in each area, and the ground collapses below him. You need to manipulate blocks in order to, proceed, and you do that using like a special power. This special power will basically encompass one of the blocks, and then you fire your like magic branch or whatever the fuck it is, and then you'll transfer that block to a different area, which you can then use to climb and traverse the area. There are different hazards blocking your way, and there are certain blocks you can't manipulate as well. It is very much like an indie version of Catherine that's kinda just fun for all the family, rather than something you'd be embarrassed to play in front of your grandparents. But it's made in a way that doesn't quite feel derivative of Catherine. The game isn't particularly difficult, but there is a harder difficulty mode there for those that want it. And it's just an immensely enjoyable experience. It is a little pricey for what it is, to be honest, but the game is often heavily discounted, which is how I got it, so you should be able to pick it up for much cheaper. Either way, whether you want to pay the full price or whether you want to wait for a sale, I would definitely give it my full recommendation. And so to the grand finale, the best game of 2019. My game of the year. Many games came close, and some have won awards for other things. So things like the Sinking City, Hotline Miami Collection, and Mario Maker 2 were all definitely hot contenders for the hot top spot. Hell, I was even contemplating Ring Fit Adventure at one point due to how beneficial it's actually been for me in real life. There are even games that didn't get awards that were also serious contenders. I mean, I've mentioned Luigi's Mansion a few times, which, turned out to be absolutely fantastic. And Hyrule Warriors as well was a game that earlier on this year I thought, hell, this could be my game of the year. And I didn't expect either of those to be as good as they actually were. Even games like Bloodstained Ritual of the Night was also a game I had a lot of fun with and was seriously considering for the top spot, even though it didn't get nominated for any of the other awards. Picking a game of the year was always going to be tough for the Switch. It's been a fantastic year. But then, in early December it dropped. On the 5th of December, a golden egg dropped into my lap. Not just any old egg though, it was an ovomorph, a xenomorph egg. And out burst the switch port to end all switch ports, Alien Isolation. Now, anyone that's seen my review of Alien Isolation that I did a few years back will know about my love for the game, and honestly, little has changed in the interim. Revisiting Isolation has altered nothing. The aesthetic is still absolutely spot on, mimicking the 70s, 80s futuristic perfectly. What's more, the visuals in general are very similar to the PS4 counterparts, with hardly anything noticeable sacrificed. Even the performance is absolutely excellent. There was only like one frame drop throughout the entire game during like quite an intense scene with a lot going on. But this wasn't necessarily a scene that, had any kind of risk or any chance of me dying, because there was nothing really to die from. But the frame drop still happened. But that was the one time. I also have to praise the look of the characters and the creatures too, which all look fantastic, even on the Switch. The alien in particular is very horrifying and has a very intimidating presence, particularly with its massive tail and its huge size in general. Whenever it's around, you know it's around. My only gripe, really, with the creature, which is the same as, with the original version, is it just kind of walks around on its hind legs. And having an alien that crawls on the walls and the ceilings as well would have been nice. But honestly, it doesn't spoil the experience. As horror games go, though, this game is one of the best, and it's a must-play for any horror fans, particularly fans of the genre, and definitely fans of Alien. It's even worth double-dipping for if you currently own it elsewhere. The fear factor doesn't lessen in handheld, and the added motion controls are an additional bonus. After playing Alien Isolation for the third time on the Switch, previously I played the 360 and the PC versions, I can say that the Switch port is the best version that I've played. What's more, after playing it through 3 times, I can also confidently say that it sits within one of my best games of all time. Well deserving of my best game of 2019. So there we go, 7 great games for the Switch that I would recommend to anyone and everyone, especially if you haven't played them before. But those aren't the only games I've played this year. As the High Priest of the Sega Saturn, I also have an awards ceremony for that too. So stay tuned tomorrow for my awards ceremony for the Saturn. See you then. Bye.